Do you think people will read fewer books in the future than today? Give details and examples to support your response. I think that people in the future will probably read fewer books than today, mostly because they will have less leisure time. In the past, people in socialist countries had enough leisure time which they could spend on educating and improving themselves. Capitalist countries also had to oblige to this and give people enough leisure time in order to stop people from uprising and throwing away the capitalist system. Today, socialist countries are nearly non-existent, and those that do exist are not really the bright examples of socialism. So people often do not think there is an alternative to the neoliberal capitalism. This is allowing corporations to extend working hours, so people do not have time for anything else besides work and sleep. Probably even sleep will become a luxury in the future, so all working people will probably be obliged to take methamphetamine or some other kind of similar substances that will allow them to work non-stop for days, until they die, and after that they will be easily replaced. For these reasons, I think people will read fewer books in the future. What would you suggest to somebody if he was planning to come to your country to study from abroad? Give details and examples to support your response. I live in the Republic of Serbia. First of all, for a foreigner who has a steady supply of money from abroad, Serbia can be very cheap. Salaries in Serbia are about 10 times lower than salaries in the US, but also living expenses are about 7 times lower. University annual tuition fees are from $500 to $2,000. So to somebody who wants to study cheaply, I would recommend Serbia. On the other side, to somebody who cannot stand Kafkaesque bureaucracy, I would not recommend Serbia. In Serbia, we have too many bewildering processes when it comes with dealing with public institutions. Also, many times it is required to give bribe in order to obtain something that belongs to you. For these reasons, I would recommend, but also not recommend Serbia as a good country for studying. It is important to interact with other people in a good manner. Give details and explanations to support your response. Some people argue that decorum no longer matters, that the rules for good behavior are old-fashioned and out of date. However, good manners are never out of date. Decorum, like all other cultural behaviors, evolves to match the times. Without good manners, members of society would show far too much impatience and disrespect for one another, which would lead to insults or other unfortunate incidents. Furthermore, it helps us to show respect and consideration to others, and make others glad that we are with them. Without proper manners, the customs of polite society would soon disappear, and we would act more like animals and less like people. For these reasons, I believe that good manners are always important. Your friend wants to switch careers, but don't know what new career to choose. What advice would you give her and why? There are too many variables which can affect my advice in this case. However, if my friend is living in Serbia and if she is not very ardent, I would advise her to switch to politics. Politics is the most profitable profession in Serbia in the last 100 years, at least. If you are a politician in Serbia, you have above average salary, but more important than that, also many other benefits. In addition, you have a chance to earn a lot more money by the side. Politicians in Serbia do not need to have a university-level education. In the last 6 years, many of them have bought suspicious diplomas at privately held Diploma-Mill universities in Serbia. Many of them have even bought a doctorate degree. Investigative journalists have shed some light on this, but nobody has resigned because of that scandal. No politician in Serbia has ever resigned from a public function because of some scandal. For these reasons, I would recommend to my friend to switch to politics. Your friend is working at a job that pays well, but that she doesn't like. She has just been offered a promotion. That would mean more pay but longer hours. What advice would you give her and why? Since I hate working on something that I do not like, I would advise her not to accept that promotion. I believe that it is important for people to do things they enjoy doing, even if they earn nothing from that activity materially. So I would rather choose to have more unpaid spare time during which I can do something that satisfies me, and I advise others to do the same. Also, I would advise her to use her spare time for learning new things, so she can one day quit her current job, which she doesn't like, and start doing something more enjoyable. For these reasons, I would advise her not to accept that promotion. Your friend's brother has begun spending time with a group of people that your friend thinks may not be very good people. He wants to talk with his brother but does not know what to say. What advice would you give him? My advice will differ in accordance to the type of group with which his brother is spending time with. If he is spending time with a cult group, then I would advise my friend to watch with him a documentary called Johnstown, The Life and Death of People's Temple. Also during watching, I would suggest to him to make comments like, "How can those stupid sheep follow that fraudster?" If he is spending time with a group that may do some illicit substances, then I would advise him to movie Trainspotting and The Wolf of Wall Street. During these movies, he should make comments like, "Those people are going to die from horrible diseases." So, my advice will include an indirect approach. Your friend has begun looking at educational programs and is having a hard time narrowing down the choices. What advice would you give? I would advise my friend to make a list and to thorough research about the professions on the list. I would advise him to make a list of the top 5 educational programs he is interested in and rank them by order of his interest. Next to each program, he should write why he finds it interesting, and then tape that list at some visible place in his room. After he has made the list, he should research each program. What types of jobs exist for each area of study? How competitive is the field? If he has an idea where he wants to live after graduation, he should check to see how many jobs are available for each profession at that location. That is how That is how I would advise him to narrow down his choices.